Hi. Um, so it's me again. And today I got some tape. And my suspicion about tape is that it's no matter where you purchase it from, it is always way overpriced because either people are purchasing it through work and nobody cares enough to look at the cost of something like tape. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But it occurred to me that most people outside of work purchasing tape are not purchasing tape all the time. They don't notice the price. But this is the cheapest for the quantity. This is the most tape per per dollar. The most square feet of tape per dollar I could find. And I mean, what do I need from tape? The other night I was taping up a package and I ran out of tape, and so I had to use book tape. And of course, nobody knows the difference at the other end, but book tape is pricey because it's pH neutral and made of a very sturdy material. I mean, you open a box once when you have tape on it, but you open a book hundreds of times. And so the book tape has to be able to withstand that. And it's amazing what you can do with the clear book tape. I mean, books that look like they're falling apart or look like they're going to fall apart or will fall apart if you actually read them. Like if you have say a paperback and it's a very thick paperback and you get, a third of the way in, halfway in, and then suddenly there's this big split up the middle, and then that disrupts the rest of the reading of whatever it is. If you tape it first with book tape, don't use packing tape because packing tape is not the same thing. If you tape it first with book tape, that won't happen. It actually changes the way the book wears as you read through it. The way the binding wears is altered by the fact that part of the stress load is being borne by the tape rather than by the paper. I mean, you used to be able to get paperbacks. I know Dover used to publish paperbacks that were stitch binding but paperbacks. Now they've gone over entirely to perfect bound paperbacks, which are the paperbacks that are kind of like, you've seen this, where you have a paperback and it looks kind of like a notepad, and sometimes the pages just start coming out like a notepad. That's perfect bound, and I mean, there are varying degrees of quality of perfect bound, but for the most part, it's not as good a way to bind a book. It's the cheapest possible way. Dover moved out to Long Island, I guess it was during the 1990s. They used to be on Varick Street, where all those big rectangular buildings are. And they used to have their own store in the lobby of the building, or, in their space anyway. And they used to publish books that used a stitched binding or high quality binding, even though they were paperback. Now they've moved to Long Island. I understand they still have the store in the in the reception area of the factory of the bindery, but everything they publish now is perfect bound. They did introduce I think they started using perfect bound and were maybe training their personnel on perfect bound when they introduced the Dover thrift editions, and those were it was like $1 for usually a classic work. And it was a perfect bound edition. And they were still at that time publishing stitched bindings. It's a disappointment, really, because I think, well, maybe it's not worth it for them, but I think that it's just in general worth it to have a book that's not going to fall apart. Anyway, I got the tape. I tried using my Staple Rewards, but I only have Staple Rewards for toner. But I might have gotten a small discount, and this is plenty of tape to last me for a good few months.